Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second day of the third qualifier of the UK ESL Premiership. This is the ultimate day. The final qualifying spots will be taken at the end of this broadcast, and you'll know the final two teams going through to the group stages of the UK ESL Premiership. I'm here with Sona again, and we have the first semi-final match. It will be exceL, who we followed quite extensively yesterday, going up against TeraCota Army. TeraCota Army, bit of a surprise upset against Perilous Rift, actually. They managed to win out in that quarterfinal and managed to secure their spot in this semi-final here. Sona, it's going to be another fantastic day. How are you feeling?
I'm got over the sort of nerves of yesterday, just coming back from a long time not casting, and we are actually into picks and bans between TeraCota Army and exceL. It's going to be an enthralling day of League of Legends action. Of course, it's a semi-final, so it's a best of three, I believe.
Three.
Is that right? Yeah, best of three.
Yeah.
And we're going to see both of these teams fight up, blue side and red side. TeraCota Army, the lower seed, have picked blue side for the first game and have already banned out Cassiopeia from VDS.
Yeah, VDS not going to get Cassiopeia. I just have to clean the rest of the pizza out of my mouth now, and now I can talk properly without stumbling over my words.
Excellent.
It's always a great thing. It was always a great thing when you're attempting to cast a semi-final game. Rek'Sai, straight at Raisins. He has got an 80%, basically 80% play rate on that Rek'Sai in the jungle. He's not going to be getting that. Now exceL are going to have a couple of other strategies up their sleeve. What do they want to look to ban out? Because there are a couple of tactics to play against TeraCota Army. They have some really core champions. JB Dutch plays basically only Ahri. exceL could look to ban that away. They may not view it as a priority, but it could go away. That would put JB in a situation where he's trying to play on something else. Or they could look to ban out maybe weak points of the opposing team. That is a ban against Mancastle, probably one of the weaker areas of the TCA lineup. He's just in terms of solo queue skill, you wouldn't know specifically. So Sion is going to get banned away from Mancastle, and Nidalee coming out as the final ban against Nocturnal Plex, I believe. And Hecarim obviously not going to be given over to Artorias after we saw him play it yesterday. That was absolutely crazy. So final ban here from exceL. I think if they don't ban Sejuani, I'd assume Sejuani would go over to Raisins. It's still a very powerful pick. He's got a lot of games in the jungle, but interestingly enough, his second most played in solo queue is actually Graves. So it's basically Rek'Sai then Graves. So once Rek'Sai's out of the picture, it's a little bit more up in the air as to what Raisins could go for. Irelia also another ban against Mancastle. If you look at the rank 5 history of TCA, Mancastle actually plays really well on Irelia, so it makes sense to take away the champions that he's done well on. But he's immediately prioritized his own pick and picking up that Maokai, so exceL may not look to then snowball the top lane, because they snowballed when Artorias was playing a champion that could shut down Yorick. He had the Ignite, he had the Hecarim. Going up against a Maokai is always far more difficult to shut Maokai down, or at least camp him to an extent where your other top laner gets ahead enough to carry the game. So prioritize the Thresh for Condemned, and it's going to be Nocturnal Plex and Sejuani, so they're going to take away that power jungle pick despite the nerfs. And Condemned, a little bit of information about him. He is obviously an ex-support player, and when he did play support, he had practically more Thresh games than every other support combined, so it was a previous power pick for him. So he's going to be coming back to this support role after having been AD carry, maybe not played so much Thresh recently, but if he can pick up that same vein, then we'll have to see if he can make the plays on those Thresh hooks. And now it's turn for TCA. Sona, what are you expecting here?
There are still lots of opportunities here for TCA. They can go for something like a Protector Kog'Maw comp, or even a Juggernaut comp, something we see a lot more in the Korean scene. The Lulu pickup would help out with that. The problem with a Lulu pick here is if you're going to run her as that flex pick, mid lane at the moment, she wouldn't really give you a huge amount as a team. You need a bit more burst damage coming out from a mid laner when you're running a Maokai in the top, because you don't have the damage coming out from a top laner like an Aurelia or something along those lines that you might see from TeraCota Army. Lulu here is a good pickup if you run a Juggernaut comp, but you have to wonder about how exceL eSports can pick against it with that lack of burst damage coming out now from TeraCota Army.
This almost looks like there's going to be big, sustained team fights coming out from the TCA lineup. They're actually picking completely in order here. They're prioritizing their bot lane as the crucial picks. They don't want to give anything away. They'd rather counter that. So they could even look for a 2v1 because they've already picked up the Maokai. So despite what exceL pick, there's always a good position for the TCA boys to pick up a bot lane that will easily rotate into a lane swap. And by not picking, that does allow them to do that. But Artorias could pick up Fizz here, which is a decent pickup against a Maokai in that top lane. A lot of power picks have been left up for exceL. TCA probably have a plan of action, hence why we're seeing these very regimented picks here. And with the Corki coming down, I would not be surprised to see TCA decide to go for something that will really excel in a lane swap, especially against a Fizz. Almost certainly, I feel like a lane swap is going to be coming their way.
Yeah, exceL have such a big mid-game power spike as well here. If you put that Fizz into bot lane in a 2v1, he works in relatively well in the 2v1 swap, and then the Corki Thresh has so much power as you get towards that Triforce. I mean, you could even, something we see a few times, put the Corki in a lane against Maokai by himself. He can farm relatively well in the lane, be very safe with the Valkyrie as well, and then have the Thresh Fizz in the bot lane to face up against Lucian, whatever the support is. I mean, it could still be Lucian Lulu, and we could see a more burst mid laner coming out here from TCA, which I think would give them a bit more all-round damage in the team fight. And Diana actually fits into that really well. She suits the prolonged team fights, which is what we're going to see coming out from TCA, but also gives you that little bit more burst just to be able to front-end damage and take out someone like a Fizz or like a Corki.
Almost every single frontline champion that can go into melee range here has synergy with Lulu. So Lulu has synergy with both Diana, Gragas, and Maokai. They're really going to be relying on Diana and Lucian for the majority of their damage, unless Raisins does go a very AP-heavy Gragas, which is unusual in the jungle. We don't tend to see that. You see a little bit more of a utility-based Gragas. Is this going to be a Nocturne mid for Vidius? Because he does play Nocturne mid. He always talks about Nocturne mid, and he played it a lot during the Null. If this gets locked in, I guarantee you this is going to be Vidius playing Nocturne mid. And it kind of makes sense against Diana. You can spell shield the Crescent Strike, you can try and negate some of the damage, and you trade well as a Nocturne in melee range with Dustbringer. It's being locked in. This is Nocturne mid for Vidius.
That is exciting and also very, very scary in the mid lane. He has a little bit more ability to rotate around the map, of course. With that Paranoia ultimate, it's almost a Destiny range. You can get quite a long distance away, and especially if we see the extra pressure being put down by Exabyte early, or Artorias early. Artorias, of course, a lot of kill pressure on that Fizz, but Nocturne, at the moment, Nocturnalplex has it in the jungle. We do expect that to be swapped around with Vidius.
Oh, really? Yeah, I mean, I would imagine.
If not, Sejuani mid makes, I think, less sense than Nocturne, because of course you can use that spell shield, as you were saying, against the Diana who Crescent swipes in. It's such an interesting pick.
Yeah, I mean, it could be absolutely over-harping the Nocturne mid. It may not be, it could potentially not be a thing, but I know Vidius does play it. There was a guy called Mr. Oink from
there we go.
NA. Yeah, there was a guy from North America called Mr. Oink who did play Sejuani mid. It was basically when Sejuani had a little bit more of her old kit before she had the changes to the damage ratios, basically, before she became more of a tank role. You could actually build full AP Sejuani and with DFG and do a ludicrous amount of damage. But yeah, I mean, this is going to be Nocturne mid. This is going to be a Vidius playing a champion that we don't often see going into the mid lane. Now, it does have its own connotations. It can be useful against melee champions. It can be useful at champions that rely on combos to get their burst off, a bit like Diana. It's all very, very skill dependent. It really depends on whether Vidius can use that spell shield at the right time, whether he can, or whether he gets the trades in his favor. He's probably going to be looking to get those points in Dustbringer early, and then just consistently trade in the melee range. But it also depends whether JB is going to step into melee range. One of the old tactics with Diana would be that you just, especially against someone like Orianna, you used to just Crescent Strike the waves until you hit level 6, and then when you hit level 6, you went all in. So
the problem with going all in against a Nocturne is, of course, he has that unspeakable horror fear, and if Diana gets too close, even if she uses Moonfall to draw him in and uses the Pale Cascade to mitigate some of the early damage, Nocturne's going to have the sustained damage throughout that fight if he's managed to dodge out that Crescent Strike proc, or even the Lunar Rush proc with his Shroud of Darkness. Like, Nocturne into Diana actually makes a lot of sense if you think about it. I think one of the main reasons that you wouldn't tend to see it picked up is that we don't tend to see that many mid laners knowing how to play Nocturne well by themselves. But as you say, Vidius, experienced on this Nocturne, might be showing us the new meta. Is this the new Urgot of mid lane? Nocturne mid is what we're going to see in just a couple of minutes. Waiting for the spectators delay just to tick on down. Let's talk about bot lane. We talked about lane swaps, exCoundrel. I think, in my opinion, I expect Corki to go into top against Mancastle and it to be an Artorias condemned bot lane versus Battlesea and Bartiono. Do you think that's what we're going to see?
I actually think it would be the other way around.
Yeah.
I'd expect that Battlesea and Bartiono will want to lane swap into Artorias.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll go top lane. Only because they would want to shut down the Fizz. You know, you don't want to leave a Fizz against a Maokai. Fizz can negate a Twisted Advance with his Playful Trickster, can escape a lot of the ganks. Depends whether Raisins can get round the backside. Now remember, they are playing on the purple side, so it will be a little bit easier to try and catch Fizz out in that top lane if Gragas can move around that tri-brush and go through the back. That is the only thing that Artorias has against him, because they are on that purple side. The top lane is a little bit more dangerous for the purple side top laner. We've got to talk a little bit about team comps, though. We've talked about the fact that this is basically on the side of TCA. It's really synergistic with Lulu. They're just looking to get in the face and use the wild growth on Lulu and just continuously, basically long sustained fights, like we said. On the side of exCel, they've got a serious dive composition here. Like, they will dive the backlines. And what I find really interesting about the exCel comp is that if they can take out Lucian with the dive of Artorias and Vidius, and then they have Corki and Sejuani able to deal with JB on Diana, they have basically neutralized all the threats on the side of TCA. They just have to be able to pull that off. That's the real key thing here. They have to be able to pull that off, because there are so many ways that can be negated. There's a lot of disengage and a lot of peel on the side of TCA. But exCel do have a comp. They get ahead, can really, really deal with it and kind of negate the way that TCA wants to play.
It is going to be a fascinating game. I think, talking about team comps, as you said, there's sort of an ebb and flow in the team fights. If there's a longer team fight, I think we'll be perhaps seeing it go over towards TeraCota Army, but they do need to be fearful, of course, of exCel's prolonged damage on that Fizz, and then Nocturne as well brings quite a lot of prolonged damage throughout the fight. If he can get a couple of Dustbringers off, get some Shroud of Darknesses blocking out those spells, and then Exabyte pounding away with that true damage passive away from the backline. There's a big mid-game power spike coming out for exCel. Do you think that TeraCota Army are going to be able to mitigate that mid-game, or do you think we'll see exCel taking a couple of towers, perhaps about the 14-minute mark, when they've got that Triforce, when they've got the Blade of the Ruin King or Triforce on Artorias in the top lane as well, and then being able to push their advantage from that mid-game spike?
Yeah, we potentially have a remake here, guys. We're going to have to see what the mod decision is. There's some wrong rune pages. I will just find out quickly for you. Sona can keep talking while I talk to the mods.
Yeah, I'll keep talking. I mean, LCS allows remakes for a rune page mishap. It's one of the bugs in the client, so hopefully we'll be able to get a remake for that. They are just asking the admins. But I think the big thing about this game is whether exCel play that power spike in the mid-game correctly. They're going to be a lane swap, I think we both think, at the early game, whether it's a switch between Artorias being up against Battlesea and Bartino in the bottom, in that top lane, or if it's going to be Exabyte moving to top and facing up against Mancastle. So that's to be debated, and that's to be seen as we get into the game. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a couple of early deep wards coming in behind that second-tier tower in the top lane or in the bot lane for both teams, just so that they can spot out where the enemy AD carry is going and how they want to play around that.
Yeah, and I think we are going to go for a remake here. I believe Hoss has said that the remake is possible. The wrong runes on Lulu, I think, and we're just going to have to wait this one out. Obviously, they have asked the admins themselves, and it does look like there is going to be a remake coming out. We're just going to have to quit this out and go and remake the lobby. But what we can do, guys, is we'll cut to a very short advert break here, and we will be back as soon as Champ Select is up and ready, and we'll start to get through this game again. But stick around, guys. It won't be long. It'll probably be around 2 to 3 minutes, and we'll be back in game. But there'll be a couple of adverts just popping up on your screen ever so shortly. But this is the first game of the first semi-final between TCA and exceL eSports. It is the semi-final of the last open qualifier for the ESL UK Premiership. So stick around. Alright guys, we've just had the ads and we are back into Champ Select. We had a quick rune bug with the side of TCA, so we've had to get a little bit of a remake out. Quick bans coming out, the bans do stay the same between the two teams. Obviously they wouldn't have changed even regardless what they decided to ban this time round, and the picks should come through pretty quickly. There isn't going to be any need for tactical picking at this point. They are just going to spam down those champions that they picked previously. So we would have to wait for another 3-minute spectator delay, and we will just have to talk a little bit more about everything we've previously talked about. So, Sona, let's talk a little bit more about going in towards what you'd expect the tactics of each of these teams to show us. I mean, what would you expect both of these teams to be looking to do from the early to mid game? I mean, to give you my personal opinion, I really think that Nocturnal Plex from exceL is just going to continuously look to either get Arturius or Vedius ahead, so that then when they come to mid-game dragon fights, one of them will be strong enough to dive and almost completely wipe off the face of the planet Lucian or Diana, depending on which. But obviously Diana, being a bit of an AP bruiser, is less a less favourable target than the Lucian. And I think they're going to try and roll into a mid-game power spike and then come off the back of that and win the game, just obviously by trying to snowball objectives. They've got a big mid-game AD carry in the form of Corki. Nocturne shines in the mid-game in terms of flat damage if he's going AD, and Fizz and Sejuani scale pretty well, but it's really going to be about Vedius and how strong he gets. What is your idea for how TCA are going to look to play this game?
I think TCA are going to be a lot more reactionary than exceL are, because exceL, as we said, have that mid-game power spike. TCA need to understand how exceL are trying to play and then manage to mitigate that mid-game power spike and push it into a later game team fight oriented game, because they have the team fight. If they can keep the team fight spread out a little bit, have it prolonged over a longer period of time, you've got the explosive cast there to knock everyone around. You've got JB Dutchones, I think that's how I'm going to say that name, on Diana, who can jump around the team fight as well, getting those resets off the Lunar Rush. rush. And then Lucian very good in teamfights that are spread out all over the place because it allows him to get that light slinger passive off a little bit more. He can chase people down with relentless pursuit. And Maokai, of course, is great when you're able to jump around with that twisted advance as well. So TCA, in my opinion, are going to be going for these later game teamfights. They're going to be trying to prolongate the teamfights over 10 to 15 seconds, as opposed to the burst, very quick teamfights that we're going to see out of exceL, who are really an ultimate synergistic team comp. You've got the Chum the Waters, you've got the Glacial Prism, Paranoia, even the Missile Barrage from Corki and Thresh's Box. It's all trying to focus down one person and then win the teamfight because it's now a 4v5.
Yeah, and the only worry I have, I mean, I've got worries for both team comps. Worries I have for TCA is they're really going to need Diana to get big in the mid game, or Lucian, otherwise they are going to have a serious lack of damage. They're just going to have no real burst threats to try and take out the front line or the back line of exceL. I mean, Corki's going to be fairly safe if Diana doesn't get to a position where she can almost one-shot him with the Crescent Strike and Lunar Rush combo that you can obviously see a lot of Dianas pull out. The worries for exceL are as if, especially Vidius, we've seen it before, if he gets behind on his quirky champion, and Nocturne is just one of those champions that's going to feel useless if he doesn't have the gold to support him. If he gets shut down, you know, Nocturne is just not going to make any use of Paranoia. He's going to have to be also looking to roam quite a lot in the mid game to make use of that Paranoia, unless he's just going to be using it to try and execute JB on that Diana. But more than likely, you'll be trying to look at him going towards his bot lane, trying to use Paranoia in conjunction with Nocturnal. My only worry then is that you are leaving a large gap in that mid lane to be pushed down. And obviously Diana, when she has that extra magic damage, her auto attack, it does actually apply to towers. So she can, every third auto attack, do a little bit extra damage to towers. And she actually can take towers fairly quickly, and Vidius is going to have to be careful about that. Obviously, it's not the end of the world if he loses the mid tower, but if he continuously looks to push around without clearing his wave, or at least without putting pressure onto JB first, he will lose a lot of pressure on those mid lane towers. So that's just my worries of both the teams. I'm also worried about the lane swap. I do think that will really hurt exceL if it comes through and they don't react to it, because Fizz without farm is useless. Yeah. Fizz without farm is just bad.
Definitely is. He does, of course, get, if you can get that Blade of the Ruin King along with the Urchin's, the Seastone Trident, so you get percentage maximum health damage and percentage health at the moment damage. So you can do a lot of damage with Fizz if you can get him rolling, but as you say, you need that gold, you need the CS under your belt, you need to be getting that Blade of the Ruin King, getting your Triforce as well, and getting to those late game, mid to late game power spikes. But the lane swap, I think, might be the defining factor of this game. It's either that or the mid-game teamfights, and both are vitally important for exceL if they want to win.
Like we said, the mid-game is the time where exceL need to be ahead, because if they don't, I think they'll just really struggle to have the gold to deal with this really bruisery front line of TCA. The only problem with TCA, like I said, is that lack of damage, and that will actually extend into the late game, because you've got to remember, the later this goes, you're still only really having two threats from the TCA side, unless we're seeing Raisins go a more aggressive build. So you're really only seeing TCA a threat in the form of Diana and Lucian, whereas there are three threats on the side of exceL. You've got Vidius, Exabyte, and Artorias, and all of those, although won't scale fantastically into the late game, do scale pretty well. Corki scales okay. We've seen TSM have Corki and win at 50 minutes. Fizz AD is an incredible scaling. When he does this on-hit Fizz, he's an incredible scaling AD carry. An incredible scaling AD bruiser. And then actually, despite what you may think about Nocturne, he can still one-bomb people in the late game. He just won't survive very long, obviously.
Yeah.
It really depends on what TCA can do and how far they can get their carries ahead. But saying that, Gragas has a lot of big hitting spells, especially even if he goes full tank, he'll still be in a position where he can do a lot of damage to carries that do walk up to him. Drunken Rage is always scary at whatever point of the game you are. Vidius is just going to put a ward over to that blue buff, however. So, I mean, this game I think is so even across the board, and there's going to be some very minor things that influence the overall outlook, and we'll just have to see whether I'm just hiccuping at the same time. and see whether exceL can get their mid-game carries ahead in the right portions of the game, or if they could survive long enough that the TCA boys end up being, you know, a real powerhouse.
We do see what looks to be a 1v1 matchup in the top lane. Artorias up there already, Mancastle there as well. exabyte showed himself top early, got caught out by a couple of saplings, and then backed away and came down towards the bot lane. So exeL trying to counteract any lane swap ideas that might have been coming out from TCA. Looks normal lanes are going to be what we see.
I mean, that's interesting for me, because I was sure that they would want to lane swap into the Fizz. Fizz does pretty well against Maokai, especially when he manages to build that Blade the Ruined King, although the likelihood is he'll probably be going for the Trinity Force first, which means he won't actually extend the laning phase long enough so that he gets Blade the Ruined King as well, unless he gets super fed. But that percentage health-based damage is always going to be a bit of a problem, and you're going to have to wait for the Sheen before you can really start to trade with the Maokai, but Sheen is definitely going to be his first item. It usually is. Sometimes you go Phage if you want to survive a little bit longer, but the Sheen is just synergizes so well with Fizz in general that it's likely that Artorias will be going Sheen and then look to trade with Maokai before Maokai gets any significant proportion of defense in his back pocket. You know, we've seen Maokai's go for a variety of builds. Mancastle has started the Doran's Ring, so that's quite an aggressive start for a Maokai. Likely gives an indication that Rod of Ages is almost certainly going to be his first item, which actually plays into Fizz's favour ever so slightly, because if you're not running resistances and Rod of Ages is your first item, then you know you've got your percentage health-based damage from your Seastone Trident, and that's always going to help you out. You know, every auto attack burning through percentage health-based damage, you've basically got a Blade of Ruined King that does magic damage built into your kit.
Hook landing on Bartona in the bot lane. exabyte's going to get taken very low by Battlezy though. Bartona's been doing a Bartino, I think it's Bartino. Been doing something like that. Has been doing a very good job of harassing down Thresh in the bot lane. Condemned, has been struggling to match up against the Lulu harass from the help picks in the Glitterlance, and if he can catch exabyte with a couple of those Glitterlance procs as well, Corky's going to struggle to stay around for too long.
This is the problem with the Lulu bot lane. She's just so strong against sort of low range melee supports. She does run out of mana moderately quickly, so you've got to be a bit select about what you choose to do with your harassing. But right now, exabyte is definitely on the back foot against Battlezy. Battlezy is not winning in CS, but definitely winning in pressure. He can step up to exabyte and look to trade whenever he wants, and will out-trade him at this point in time. He also has that pot, which is so useful the longer that you can keep it in your first period of your laning phase. exabyte having been forced to blow that at level 2 is really detrimental to the safety of his lane, and he knows that, and that's why he's playing quite defensively now.
But talking about CS differences, VDS pushing at JB down in the mid lane. He's already a few CS ahead. The hook does land in the bottom lane, and exabyte needs to be careful because Bartino is just basing out for Raisins, who might deliver a delicious treat. Can it be a prune gank? It is! exabyte's going to get taken very low. He will Valkyrie away. There was a lantern there as well for him. I don't know what a prune gank is, but it sounds delicious.
I got to question Raisins' patience there.
Yeah.
Because the wave was pushing. If they'd stepped up to CS and then they had the support of Bartian and Battlezy, then that would have been way better for them, and they almost certainly would have picked up a kill onto the Corki, because Corki, like you saw there, wasn't quick enough to react with the Valkyrie before the body slam hit, and he had a good few seconds to deal with that. Artorias right now, like I said, without the Sheen, is actually struggling a little bit against the Maokai, as he will do. Plex is just trying to take away the River Scuttler, but there will be a ward to spot him out, as Mancastle will remain fairly safe, and I like this early sweeper coming out from Nocturnal Plex. He's just looking to command vision in the early game, and it kind of puts a little bit of fear into Mancastle, knowing that he's not quite sure who will be in that brush, and you can see he's trying to farm with just that sapling at this point in time, whereas Nocturnal Plex is already back. Idios right now, he's trying to go aggressive onto JB.
JB needs to be a little bit careful, but the Crescent Strike will get some counter damage off, has that Luna Rush up, Paranoia available for VDS as well, and what we haven't actually talked about that much is exeL yesterday played with Zerks in the jungle, and are now playing with Nocturnal Plex. Do you think they might be a little bit off their game because they've switched around that jungler? Speaking of off his game though, Artorias has used... What? Raisins? What? I don't understand that. Artorias used both of his movement abilities. He used his jump and he used his dash And Raisins should have just gone in and Chum the Waters comes out. Raisins misses by a mile with the barrel toss. Mancastle will have to back away because he hasn't got any mana, but Artorias does have to leave the Chum the Waters and just get out of there because of Raisins coming in from the side for a little bit of a gank.
Yeah, I gotta say, Raisin's most played jungler by far was rek'Sai. That was banned out immediately by exceL. It's kind of seeming like he's just not quite comfortable with Gragas at this point in time. Maybe needs a little bit of time to get into the use of Gragas, and I think that was one of the one weakness that we could pick up from the TCA lineup is that we hadn't seen Raisins play a lot of other junglers that weren't rek'Sai. So we weren't sure how he was going to perform on those junglers. And at the moment, it just seems like he's a little bit too eager to get these ganks to work. He's just not quite patient enough. Like you said, there was a real key opportunity. Once that Playful Trickster had come down on top. Oh, wow, but in the bot lane.
Bart is going to get jumped on the bot lane. Knight goes down, hits the teleport with the paranoia. VDS picks up the going to turn on to Battlesea. Counter teleport is coming in by Artorias. Can they turn this around on Mancastle? He might be going down. Artorias is still down the hook. Not going to connect against the flash away, but here comes Nocturnal Flax from the side. Just bringing on to Mancastle. Artorias picks up the kill. And it's a 2-0. A beautiful vision. Risen onto Battlesea the play. There comes Artorias and VDS picks up the kill. Condemned will be healed. And he will survive as well. It is a 3 kill advantage for exceL. The blue buff is taken away by JB, but that's not a good trade at all, and a beautiful bit of play by exceL.
That Arctic Assault flash with Nocturnal Flex was absolutely beautiful. And then the final Glacial Prison and the flash flay coming out from Condemned. That was absolutely brilliant from exceL, and you started to see why Vedius really loves this Nocturne mid. Just a 5-man gank with that teleport in the bot lane. Holy moly, that was fantastic.
Absolutely amazing, just very well timed by all of exceL. They saw the teleport coming in from Mancastle, the counter teleport came in by Artorias straight away. Vedius, of course, had already made it a 3v2, and they just turned and burned as quickly as they could. The ultimates coming up just at the right times as well. exceL with a very well coordinated gank in the bot lane puts them 2,000 gold ahead, and they've got that dragon as well.
What's interesting about Nocturne's ult, and a lot of people don't realise that Nocturne's at the first level has a very tiny range, so you actually find it very difficult to get long-range ganks. You actually have to get fairly close to the lane to be able to use it. I remember reading I can't remember the other ability that it's got a similar range to, but it's essentially not very far at all. So Vedius actually had to move quite far out of lane to get that to work. And there wasn't a reaction from the bot lane of TCA because they were already being engaged, but maybe had there been a little bit less action going on in the bot lane, Vedius wouldn't have been able to make that work so easily, because you really have to spend a little bit of time out of lane. It's a bit like Twisted Fate at that first level. You have to spend a significant portion of time out of lane, so your mid laner should be calling that their opposing mid laner is missing, and should be expecting that kind of thing to happen, especially with those global ultimates.
It was just really well done by the entirety of exceL, and TCA trying to take away this blue buff. If they can secure this and get it away from Vedius, it is actually quite a big bonus for them, because they can increase the cooldown on that paranoia, but it's already back up. He's got the brutalizer for some cooldown reduction.
Yeah, exabyte knows that the ward is being scanned out there. He's going to get away with the use of the Thresh Lantern. But, I mean, to be honest, giving up that blue buff for everything that has just happened previously is not going to be the end of the world. And Vedius, I know he relies on mana fairly substantially, but look at the items he's picked up on his first back. A Brutalizer and a Cutlass. Now, if this was just a Brutalizer and he was going up against the Seeker's Arm Guard of Diana, you would say that Diana is probably in the favourable position, because essentially they're at status quo, but you basically have more of an advantage going over to Diana because the ability power is slightly higher than the attack damage. But having the Cutlass as well, Vedius is in just such a strong position. 2-0-1 on Nocturne mid at this point in time, and holy moly, I mean, did you kind of see this kind of...
Oh, here comes the Lunar Rush though. Vedius needs to be careful because JB is going in and gets the Ignite down as well. JB with a beautiful turnaround there. Vedius went a little bit too aggressive, and JB just said, oh no you don't. And meanwhile, oh no you don't, condemned in the bot lane. Might have spelt his own doom with a death sentence onto Bart, but Raisin's not quite able to get close enough for the explosive cast. They will just have to back away. And a nice ray of hope there in the mid lane. JB bringing the rays of the moon in. Will we see a solar eclipse today? Will the moon outshine exceL? We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, this is the one key component of the TCA lineup that needs to get going, and that is JB on the Diana. Vedius should not have given up a kill there. That was just a bit of a misplay, to be honest. When you're 2-0 on a Nocturne going up against a 0-0-0 Diana, giving her a kill is just like gracing her that foot in your doorstep to make your entire day go wrong. And that still can happen for the lineup of exceL. They're not home and dry after that one tiny team fight in the bot lane. They definitely have an advantage, but VDS definitely, you don't want to give the only champion that has the real chance of completely bursting through your backline. But wow, that was a pretty poor Glacial Prison, I've got to say, from Nocturnal Plex. They weren't in a position to follow up on that properly, and he is going to hang his head and walk away from that ball lane. You walk off on that ball. You did not do a nice Glacial Prison there, but like I said, look at that needlessly large rod on JB. And that's a really big pickup for him. He's nearly got that Zhonya's, which will basically mean he'll probably likely out-duel Vidius in every 1v1 situation, which means Vidius will find it a lot more difficult to stay in lane and will have to continuously look to move around the map. But he's already at a fairly big level disadvantage. I think JB has got an entire level on him, and at levels 9 and 10, that's a fairly big deal. Not in terms of power spikes, I know you'll be closer to your level 11 ultimate. It's more of a big deal because that takes quite a long time at this point to catch up. It's a good few waves of minions, and I know Vidius can clear minions with one Dustbringer and then the
Meanwhile, in bot lane, Battles is going to have the Wild Growth Pucks on him. It was a nice game from the side by exceL, but with the teleport coming in from Mancastle, can they chase onto this? I don't think they'll be able to. They do get the counter teleport out of Artorias, he'll cancel it. Oh, condemned! Didn't realise. Oh, what was that? But oh, I feel so sorry for him. He was obviously typing in condemned. Oh no! There's a pound oil in the mid lane. JB's going to be the target. There is a Sejuani here as well. JB has to flash away. Has been ignited on the tower. Can he turn it around? The power cascade is not quite enough. Vidius will flash away, but here comes Raisins. Has the explosive cast. He goes in. Explosive cast to the side. Raisins picks up one. Can he turn it around? Because Mancastle's here as well. Going to get onto the Sejuani, and the Sejuani of shame will use that Arctic Assault to try and get away. Mancastle almost picking up the kill. One barrel roll, not quite enough. But Mancastle with the Arcane Smash. Twisted Advance will be up in just a second. Twisted Advance. There we go. Mancastle picks up the kill. 3 for 4, but I was just going to say, the reason that whole thing's great fight all round, yes. Bart was obviously typing condemned flash into the chat so they could time it and flashed himself.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Now that is definitely not what you want to be doing, but it's a small mistake. Hopefully exceL won't have realised, and they won't try and time that themselves, but Gragas really played that nicely. Raisin's starting to get a little bit more into this game, and this is what I talked about. Look how much damage Vidius' mid lane turret has taken already. He's been across the map once, and his mid lane turret is almost down. In retrospect, it's half health on the side of TCA, and that's a nice little bit of play by Raisins just himself to move and take some damage, put some damage onto that mid lane tower. Nice spell shield by Vidius there. Not that it makes too much of a difference, but Artorias coming down. This is the dragon fight. Going to be a real key.
Oh, Vidius is going to be the target. There's no spell shield left for him, and JB will pick up the kill. Doesn't even need to spurn Ignite. And one thing I was going to say, it's a nice spell shield from him, yes, but it's on a 14-second cooldown. And Crescent Strike is on a... Yeah, I was go ahead. That, yeah. Go ahead, exceL.
I was saying that it's a nice spell shield mechanically, but not useful, like I said. It's just not a useful spell shield whatsoever. Even if she decided to all in there, he was very close to his turret, and there was no real risk him of dying, so it was more of a flashy spell shield than anything. At TCA, they want to take this mid lane turret. They're not going to try and take the dragon now, but it does give the time for exceL to react and potentially look to go back and try and contest the dragon again. Artorias and exabyte are going to push this bot lane up, but TCA have said, no, we're not bothered. We're going to take 2 mid lane turrets here, and I'm not sure that's worth it. For exceL.
Yeah, it's definitely not worth it for exceL. TCA, 2 mid lane towers and some damage onto the inhibitor tower here as well. They haven't even lost their inner tower in the bot lane yet. It's about to go down, but that is a massive advantage for TCA, and now they're going to rotate down towards the dragon. And at the moment, if exceL want to counter this dragon, they have to do a split engage. They have to try and tweezer themselves onto TCA, but with Artorias and exabyte looking like they're going to try and back away, the dragon might be gone before they can even get here. Vidius does have his ultimate available if he wants to come in. Nocturnal Plex up towards the side, the hook lands on JB, but the Arctic Assault was used to get away. The dragon is going very low in the backline. There's the box, the dragon goes down, condemned into the wall. JB onto the backline, exabyte gets very low. There's the explosive cast as well, but Battlesea, Vidius is on that. Lucien is going to take him down. The Raisins is the next target. A good hook. Artorias goes so low to that cast, but Mancastle gonna be the last man standing here, apart from Barty, who jumped in real well. A triple kill for Artorias. What a great team fight for exceL. They lose the dragon, yes, but they pick up a bunch of kills.
That is exactly how exceL needed to play their line. VDS taking out one target, and then Artorias taking out the other. That's how their composition needed to work. Poor positioning, you've got to say, from TCA, and actually JB getting caught out there. And I've got to give that fight MVP to Condemned. He caught JB, and then he basically single-handedly positioned the Assassins to take out the rest of the lineup, and exabyte on the backside was just completely safe too. That is how exceL needed to play the team fight, and that's how exceL are going to win this game if they can continue to do that. Actually, exabyte backing on the pink ward.
Yeah, he needs to be careful because Raisins is there. He hasn't got enough mana for the Valkyrie either. He will get away because Condemned has a lantern, but...
I'm trying to work out whether he knew that pink ward was there. It was, you know, sometimes the slight terrain block, when you've got the pink ward down, you can't quite see the terrain. It doesn't quite give sight, but he was right in the brush. That doesn't really make much sense to me. Maybe he just didn't want to take it.
And Condemned walked over it as well as he went down towards River, so it's an interesting one. It's strange they didn't decide to take it. Maybe they noticed too late, and thus they were like, well, we can't take it now because Raisins is coming close to us, and we up just a little bit too much, we might get caught out. But anyway, 4,000 gold the difference. We have seen TCA get back into this game and then lose out a little bit from that last team fight. You talked about Vidius and Artorias being able to pick off the carries where they need to, and now Artorias has his Triforce completed and a Vampire accepted. He is a very big...
Oh my god, they're going in the bot lane.
Trying to get into the bot lane. Artorias has TP'd in. They're going to go onto it. The flash hook lands on Battlesea along with the Jump the Waters. There's the Glacial Prison. That's a very dead Lucian. Artorias is unstoppable, as is the rest of this exceL team at the moment. Here comes Condemned. Vidius, Paranoia, Raisins. He's going to chug away on that alcohol. Not going to be able to keep himself alive this time. And they will get another kill. Vidius coming in with that Paranoia from the side. Big flanks here by exceL.
This is a key component for the exceL lineup, consistently looking to put the pressure down when they have it available. As soon as that Paranoia is up, it basically gives them a green card to engage whenever they see fit. And what was really key about picking up 2 kills there was that the explosive cask was used by Raisins right at the start to try and disengage the fight, but it wasn't effective enough. It only blasted 2 members away. Condemned was blasted to the side, I believe. And the flash hook, that was so good from Condemned. Yeah. You could see why this was his most played champion when he used to main support. He managed to just thread the needle. I mean, it was almost, okay, it was more like threading a cotton needle because it was a rather large gap to go for. But it's still impressive to hit the hook onto the AD carry, especially when he's ever so slightly out of range in the brush. You can't quite see where you're throwing it.
Very, very well done by Condemned. We have a support AD carry on exabyte 008. He's picked up Sorcerer's Shoes to go along with his Triforce as well. Double try on the team. They will have tons of damage. And that is what we're seeing in all the team fights.
Loads of damage.
Loads.
Loads. I know you said tons is the real word, but...
A substantial amount.
The key point here, that at this point in the game, 2 Triforces is so powerful for... Oh, Vidius.
Vidius had to flash away. Oh, Raisins! That's not what you want to do.
Raisins.
Oh. I feel like we're going back to yesterday when Cocoa Pops hustling on Team Cocoa Pops and the other types of cereals was struggling and getting caught out time and time again. It seems like a lot of the time you can kind of target one person as to maybe making a few too many mistakes for the team. Raisins today hasn't had the impact on that Gragas with this explosive cast that he would have wanted to. He had a couple of okay ganks early on, but since then the explosive casts haven't been the best. He's not body slamming, he's not picking his targets as well as he might like to. And you have to go back to the fact we haven't seen him play much Gragas. He doesn't seem to be at the level that he would like to be on this Gragas.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to make a point before Raisins, unfortunately, made that tiny misplay there. The next 5 minutes is key for exceL because Trinity Force really shines between 15 and 25 minutes. And they've got 2 on the team right now. 2 on the team on really high benefit champions. And Mancastle, in the meantime, going toe-to-toe with Artorias. I'm not sure the rest of the team even needs to be there, but they're going to be there anyway. And Mancastle is going to be the receiving end of a very icy grave. In fact, no, a very phosphorus.
Battlesea and Vidius are fighting in the bot lane as well, and Vidius will take out one in a 1v2. He's going to turn onto Raisins as well. Needs to be careful because JB's coming. The Dustbringer is going to speed him up, but JB does manage to get the kill. But 4-man stack in the top lane is going to spell a tower probably here for exceL.
Yeah, but... Sorry, I just slightly choked on a bit of hair. There was... That is exactly what you want from the exceL lineup at this point in time. Vidius going 2v1, taking out a key target. The rest of the team taking out, a target. This is very classic split pushing tactics, at its very bare bones. One member has the team react to him, and exabyte playing it very, very dangerous there. One member split pushes, the team reacts to him, he manages to get a kill, but the rest of the team takes an objective of the map. I mean, that is basically the tried and tested ancient method of League of Legends play. Hotshot GG, Season 1, split push Nidalee. No one could deal with him, to send multiple members, the rest of the team took objectives. That's just what happened. In 20 seconds, speaking of objectives, that fiery lord will grace our presence in the river. The dragon will be back on the map.
Razor's gonna try. That's just the story of his game. Like he got whimsied. He tried to get onto exabyte on that Corki. He Valkyried away, and then Raisin's body slammed straight into minions that were right in front of him. It didn't work out, but nice flank here by exceL. They're going to go into Battery in the back when the jungle comes down as well. A good explosive cast from Raisins though. Artorias is going to get teleported onto here by Manchester, and they need to be Mancastle side. There's the shutdown onto the Artorias. Vedius does pick up Raisins though. Exabyte goes deep to pick up his counter AD carry. Battlesea going down. Nocturnal Plex is going to chase onto Bart, and JB here should be able to chase him down with Condemned, and Vedius Paranoia comes out. JB needs to be fearful because he's going to go down in just a second. One more auto from Vedius will help pick up the kill. Bart is the next target. He gets the Blade of the Ruin King passive onto him, and should maybe not go quite down to Vedius, who will chase under the tower. Gets exhausted as well. Has to use the Dustbringer to get away. And it is a good 3-for-1 trade. So Artorias going down there for exceL. But once again, they trade around an objective, using this mid-game power spike to their advantage. Take away the red. They'll take away their second dragon of the game, and they'll take themselves about 7,000 gold in the lead.
Yeah, next dragon in the game. It's I think it's their second dragon, yeah, like you said. So it's not exactly the most powerful, especially in this team composition that actually don't have many people who are going to try to allow Corki to come over all that landscape. But, you know, that second power dragon buff is actually quite important to team comps that run people like Jinx. But in a team comp like this, you're less likely to be taking turrets from a range perspective, in a sieging manner rather. This is more of a, we'll win a team fight or we'll win a dive and then we'll take a turret. So usually they have enough time regardless of the buff. Didn't see that second buff really prioritized by teams that run something like a Jinx, when they want to just siege and maybe not even look to fight, but take turrets before the enemy team can react. This is more of a, we win fights and we take turrets, so this will just allow them to take it that much quicker, but it won't be that big of an impact. But right now, exceL, they're looking really, really strong, and the Hex Drinker is there. They have the Ghost Blade and the Blade of the Ruin King on a Nocturne in the mid, and it looks like he's potentially going for a Last Whisper too. There isn't too much armor to deal with this point in time. This is what I talked about with Mancastle. He's still only got the flat health and the Mercury Chase. He's looking like he's building towards a Frozen Heart, which is going to really help versus Fizz and Vedius. They're going to really struggle to deal with that, but the mixed damage coming out from Fizz will allow him to be a little bit more effective, and obviously Vedius, when he managed to finish that Last Whisper, should be able to shred through the Frozen Heart. So, you know, Mancastle will have a small grace period in which the Blade of the Ruin King and the Last Whisper aren't finished on those two members of exceL, but he hasn't finished his Frozen Heart yet. So that grace period is ever so slightly dwindling away. The one thing I think we have to pick up on for the TCA boys is that Lichbane and another needlessly large rod is out on JB. He is going to be able to one-shot someone if he chooses to. It just depends whether he can survive that long.
And if he doesn't get spell shielded by Vedius, he's going to go down towards the bot lane where Vedius is already smoke pushing. But one thing I've noticed here, exceL don't have the best siege comp, so they need to win team fights before they can go for towers, because otherwise they just won't be able to put the pressure down on the towers with the wave clear of a Diana and a Lucian and a Gragas there. But they have been doing a good job of teasing TCA out into the middle of the map and then winning the team fights from there.
Yeah, and I actually don't...
Oh, here comes the paranoia. JB is going to be the target. Turns and burns. There's a teleport coming in. Vedius, the Zhonya's has been put down by JB. He Luna rushes away, but Artorias there. And they will pick up a kill for exceL. And this is what we talked about, teasing them out, making sure they can pick up the kills.
Yeah, I actually didn't think Vedius would be able to duel JB in that mid lane, but he proved me wrong. The Ghost Blade doing some serious work there. I thought with the Lichbane it would be really difficult for Vedius to go 1v1 in that situation, but I think I completely underestimated how much damage that Paranoia would do also, and this is looking good for exceL at this point. They're actually having to send Mancastle to deal with Artorias and Vedius, but I don't think they're that bothered. Vedius is actually going to spell shield.
The rest of the team coming though. There's the explosive cast. Vedius is going to go down. Artorias the next target. Mancastle jumps onto him. There's Raisins as well. It's a double kill for Battlesea. They turn it around. There's the box. Condemn the next target. They're going to keep chasing onto him as well. He'll go down. And Raisins and the TCA team turning this one on its head, managing to pick up 3, and they'll save the tower as well.
Yeah, a little bit. I don't like to say cocky, but a little bit too cocky from the exceL lineup, especially from Vedius and Artorias. And if this is going to be a Baron now for the TCA guys, this is the one ticket that they have to get back into this game and get back into this game with absolute force. I don't know how much exceL can do to try and defend this, because now JB is up also, so if anyone steps too close, then it'll be so hard for them to escape the clutches of Mancastle and JB. And this is probably going to be Baron going over to TCA. This is
Nocturnal Plex goes in. Oh, he misses the smite. Gets picked up by Betsy. That was so close. 65 HP, I believe. And they do pick up the Baron. Battlesea, worth his weight in gold at the moment. Gets 300 gold for all of his team and that Baron buff. And it helps them just keep the pressure away from these inhibitor towers now with those super buff minions.
I'm trying to work out why he felt the need to defend, to try and steal that. I don't think exceL were in a position where they had to be as reckless as to try and steal the Baron. I don't think they were in a position where stealing the Baron was going to save the game for them because they were already ahead. They're going to take a turret for it, which is going to be probably a rare occurrence in the next 4 minutes. Is it 3 minutes or 4 minutes the Baron buff? I can't remember. But the next, I think it's 3 minutes. The next 3 minutes in which this Baron buff is running, that's going to be a rare occurrence for them. So it's nice to get the tower when you can. But yeah, I mean, that was a giveaway Baron and a giveaway kill on the steal too. So exceL probably going to have to be a little bit more careful. They're only 4k ahead, despite looking like they've been ahead for a large proportion of the game. Oh, exabyte, he's going to get away. He's been so close on the end of these recalls. But Nocturnal Plex, we haven't talked much about him. He hasn't picked up any kills, but he's definitely been involved in a lot of kills. He's got very tanky items, but almost no resistances. He's going for a Righteous Glory now. Got very big amounts of flat health, but like we said, no resistances. I think someone, somewhere, should have picked up a Locket of the Iron Solari by now.
Yeah.
But it's not been picked up. I think it is going to be the next item for Condemned. You can see the Kindle Gem, and you can see the next Ruby Crystal, but that should have been picked up, I believe, 5-10 minutes ago. I think more than likely Nocturnal Plex.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the Righteous Glory does help them with the engage, but they've got a great engage already. Artorias has all of those abilities to get him closer to the fight. There's the Paranoia coming out from Vedius as well, and the engage coming out from exceL didn't really need too much assistance, and Nocturnal Plex is just pushing it a little bit too far, going for the Righteous Glory as well, and Aegis, as you said, would have been a lot better. They're gonna rotate towards the top tower here. TCA gonna try and get that one. It is an exchange though for the third dragon of the game, and that's quite a big one. It's the movement speed, so I wouldn't be surprised if we just see Artorias going and getting this dragon himself, because he can do that at this stage.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the case here. He does have teleport, but Mancastle does. They are going to give away this tower. I don't know if they want to look to engage off that hook. Going to just sacrifice that top lane tower. Artorias will just go and get that third dragon of the game by himself. He is got a big period where exceL are going to have to look to defend this out. There is Baron buff running out in very shortly. 20 seconds left, I believe, on the Baron buff for TCA.
Mancastle's going to go in. Oh, he tried to steal it with the twisted advance and the flash jump. The waters comes down. Artorias will be able to get away. I feel like Mancastle might have, if he had gone for Artorias there instead of going for the dragon, he might have been able to pick up the kill. It was a bit risky going for the dragon itself. Vedius pops Paranoia. Never underestimate the power of darkness, but not able to find the catch onto Raisins there, who was just leaving the top lane in favour of a mid lane push. Baron has now gone down on the TCA boys, and 3,000 gold behind. They are the ones putting the pressure down now, but Condemned, all it takes is a hook.
Like we said, we talked about the late game team composition from TCA. They do have that potential to come back and really do some damage. The only issue I see is Battlesea needs to finish up some more of his items, because the only threat from TCA right now is JB, and if JB does get focused, even despite him having the Zhonyas, it'll be very little damage coming out from the TCA boys. So I do think now Vedius has picked up the 3 items. It may be more, or maybe better for him to pick up something like a Randuin's, or maybe even a Banshee's, because I think maybe Banshee's probably more useful for him. Because I think he's got enough damage to dive on the back line. I think Lucian will go down regardless at this point in time. I think having a little bit more survivability, so that once he's taken down Lucian, he doesn't immediately die himself, will be a really good idea for him.
Totally agree with that. We saw TCA trying to put a little bit of a push down onto the bottom lane, but exabyte and the rest of the exceL team will rotate their potatoes down there and stop that inner tower from going down. It is 6 towers to 5, and the gold lead ever so slowly coming back into the favour of TCA. It's only 3,000 now. JB will pick up his own blue buff, and he's actually been one of the standout performers for TCA in this game. He's been able to take out a 1-for-1 in most occasions, and really only got outplayed in that the 2-for-1. The 2-for-1 that we saw when Artorias teleported down into that bottom lane.
To put it in perspective on Battlesea at this point in time, he's got the similar gold. He's got only ever so slightly more gold than Raisins. So Raisins has got a similar gold to Battlesea, and he's from the jungle and has got half his farm. So Battlesea is definitely having a bit of more of a tougher time in this game. It really is JB that's done the majority of the work here, and he's a real threat. And I think exceL are struggling to know how to deal with him, because they don't have anyone on their front line apart from Sejuani, and she's not got any resistances herself apart from the Mercury treads. So even with all of that flat health, she's not exactly negating a lot of the damage coming through. Until Fizz can pick up some of his front line items, a bit like the Giant's Belt that I expected to finish up after this Ruby Crystal, he's also going to go down very quickly. And like we said, Vidius previously, he hasn't got any defensive items himself, so he'll go down very quickly. So unless Sejuani can do the sole frontline tanking herself, and against a very big dive composition like we're seeing here from Diana, especially since she's nearly finished Rabadons as well, I don't expect these fights to go particularly well for exceL unless they start them with a serious advantage.
Yeah, it's what we talked about in the pre-game chat both times that we had it in that pick and ban lobby. If exceL could snowball their mid-game advantage, they would win. But their problem was they snowballed to a point and then didn't take any inhibitor towers. If they had taken even just one inhibitor tower, they could win this game from here, because there's nothing to push back that lane against you, and Artorias could split push or Vidius could split push, and then the rest of the team could go for the free inhibitor. But because they haven't been able to break the base of TCA, they're definitely losing out in these fights as we get later into the game, because their previous mid-game burst doesn't mean as much when your enemy now has 1,000 more health and 100 more armor and 100 more magic resist. You're just not doing enough.
Yeah, and I've got to say the big turning point for me was when Vidius and Artorias decided to try and take that bot lane inhibitor turret. They committed a lot of they committed both members and ignored Mancastle, and then the rotation from the TCA guys was just way quicker than the rotation from exceL, and you saw that there. They went down very quickly, and they gave a couple of kills over to Battlesea, who is still obviously struggling, but is not struggling as much as she potentially would have been. So, like I said, that was the big turning point for me. But it looks like exceL are just going to completely ignore this Baron and try and push down mid lane, force the TCA guys to take a bit of a roundabout route, and they're going to wait for Artorias to try and push this bot lane up as well. Vidius takes one Dark Crescent Slash onto Vidius takes off about 1/10 of his health, and that may not seem a lot. When you can combine that with the Lunar Rush and the Lichbane auto attack, that's going to really hurt him, and that's supposed to be your frontline diver. If he can get taken out by Diana that quickly, then he's going to struggle to have an impact on Lucian. And Lucian's got all of his summoners up for this upcoming fight as well, so going to be even more difficult for Vidius to do what he can do. But he's got his summoners up too, so he can always keep the flash up there to maintain the fear on his tether. But exceL are going to try and two-man this Baron. This is risky, I think. This is a little bit risky, and it looks like Raisins and Battlesea have picked that up. And unfortunately, Nocturnal Plex, like we said, has got no armor. He is. Oh wow! Here goes the Righteous Glory.
Not going to be able to get anything out of that one though. And they will force the Valkyrie away, but not able to pick up any kills. Artorias being pushed back in the bottom lane by Mancastle. We'll just get a bit of a push going down for this mid lane inhibitor. Actually, Chump the Water's coming down onto Mancastle. Artorias is going to go in on this one. There's the turnaround, and lots of damage coming out from Mancastle. Artorias might be able to pick it up. There's the sapling. He dodges it. They'll flash away by Mancastle. Artorias, one more auto will get up the kill. And they do manage to pick that up. Artorias is back now, still has teleport available. Would be able to turn and burn for this Baron, and that's a great fight by Artorias in the bottom lane.
Yeah, I mean, Artorias, that he does this on there. Wow, the Flash Blade was condemned.
Condemned gets so much damage out. There's the paranoid Vidius. It jumps on to Raisins, not the best target. There was a good explosive cast. There's the wild growth as well. Can they turn this one round? JB is just backing away as much as he can. Battlesea there as well. There's no tower to save him. The heal has been popped. JB might be able to turn around and pick up one or two here. Crescent Strike will just connect at the end. He goes in with the Lunar Rush on the Vidius, but he's going to get locked down straight away. The Zonius has come out. The tower's going down in the bot lane meanwhile, and they will be able to get that inhibitor tower. Artorias stayed around and pushed, and they get a couple of kills as well. Artorias should be able to take this inhibitor before Lulu and Lucian can do anything about it. The double O's. Oh, he might actually get caught out. He'll take the inhibitor. Will he go down though? He has popped that Playful Trickster. The exhaust comes down as well. Not sure why that wasn't used in the last team fight. Must have been down, but they do pick up a counter kill. They lose the inhibitor. They're going to lose Baron as well. And a great turn there for exceL after a very, very nice flash play.
Yeah, the flash play that set that one up, and it was so fantastic from Condemned. It looks like the TCA guys aren't going to go home empty-handed, however. They did pick up Artorias. They're going to go pick up the Dragon too. I've got to say, that could have gone worse had Vidius not spell shielded the Lunar Rush from Diana. He negated all of the damage there, and it meant that it kept him alive, forced her into the Zhonyas. If she had taken Vidius down, it could have easily taken out exabyte too, and then she would have been able to free roam there. So JB, or inches, if not millimeters, away from winning a teamfight single-handedly. But like we said, if a VDS can spell shield part of the combo, it's going to be really, really, really difficult for her to get the burst on him. And now he's got the GA, so he's got a big defensive item for someone who's going into the back lines. What is so great about GA, a lot of people think, oh, well, you can just burst them down and wait. But it's that wait that is the key thing on GA. If you're on Nocturne and you jump in with GA to the back line, and then the enemy team sees you in GA, a lot of the immediate reaction is to try and crowd round that GA member and take them down as soon as they... Well, if you've got the rest of exceL immediately following up, you can't crowd round that weight on the GA, and if you do, you're likely to go down. So this is a nice pickup from Vidius, and I think one of the better GAs that they can pick up on this side of the team.
Most decidedly, especially since you've got the Glacial Prison coming out from Sejuani as well. People are grouping up. That is a perfect skill shot to have available. The AoE stun can be superb in teamfights, but I think what we have to remember is this is a best of 3, so even if exceL do take this game, TCA have 2 chances to get back into it if they win the next one. So the top lane, is being pushed down here by 4 members of exceL, but Artorias once again splitting from the team is going to try and split on the mid lane. He's got his Banshees as well, so he's even more difficult for Mancastle to take down, especially since we've seen how well Artorias is playing on this Fizz today.
Yeah, and I've got to say, I don't expect to see Fizz coming, making it through the pick and ban phase. If he's not going to be banned, I'm assuming Mancastle may even look to first pick him. Don't actually see Mancastle play Fizz a lot, but he gets hooked in here.
He's gonna go in. There's explosive cast knocking Nocturnal Plex back. Not the best target in these teamfights. He'll be able to back away. Artorias from the side. There's the Paranoia coming onto Battles in the back line. Can he survive? He can! Gets taken down by Artorias. A beautiful Glacial Prison Verdus is in that GA. As we were talking about, Mancastle there is gonna get taken out again. There's a double kill for Artorias. Not quite the triple. Nocturnal Plex takes that one away, and Artorias is gonna push back Vasons. A great teamfight for exceL. There's no one loss of lives. Vidius did get taken down after he went into that GA, but exceL taking the first Nexus Tower. Looks like they're going to go for the second, and they will win this game. 40 minutes in, Artorias has had a stomper of a performance in these teamfights. 8-3, and a 9-6 Nocturne in the mid lane definitely helped him out. Well played to exceL. They'll take the first game of this best of 3.
They'll take the first game, and Artorias, every single time we've seen him play, he has come up trumps for exceL's lineup. Whether it be in a split push sense or whether it just be a pure carry sense. But I've got to hand it over to exabyte. We said this about him last time. He's not a flashy player. He doesn't make the plays all by himself. But at 4-0-10, you've got to say he was that silent threat that we didn't mention enough, because he didn't die throughout the entire game. He probably did almost equivalent to the most amount of damage. And like we said yesterday, sometimes when someone does a job so well, you may not even notice they've done it at all. And that's exactly what...
Just looking at the damage, you said he did joint most. He actually did 9,000 more than anyone else in the game. Ended up doing 27,000 damage.
Yeah, I mean, that is a lot of damage. And I'm looking at the graph right now, dwarfed everyone. And actually, Vidius's mid lane Nocturne did more damage than JB's Diana. So that is, I did like that pickup. And Vidius did say he was potentially bringing it out. What a time to bring it out to counter one of the more interesting mid lane picks that we saw coming out off the back of IEM Katowice. But we're going to get into the second lobby, guys. This is going to be 1-0 to exabyte, to exceL and exabyte. They are 1 game away for qualifying from the UK ESL Premiership, and they're 1 game away from going into the final and getting their chance of winning £100. We'll be back very soon. I also want to give a quick shout out to SanDisk. It is a new partner and sponsor for ESL, so well done. And we'll be back in 5 minutes.